Hey, good morning everybody. It's about 11:42, and hopefully if I have the unlimited time limit, this will allow me to do it if this goes over. If not, then you'll probably see a two-parter later on, or a two-part remake. Anyway, as you can see the title up there on top of the video, it says allegations of missing Archie contracts in Ken Penders' case. Now, in case some of you haven't been paying attention or don't know about this, I'll provide the link down below. But this was reported by Tristan Oliver over at TSSZ, and it's been copied and pasted by Dark Fox at various Sonic sites. And it says here, the subtitle says, attorney claims Archie ex-VP Spallone knew of lost documents or lost docs. So basically there's an attorney, I think he's on Ken Penders' side, that says that the ex-vice president of Archie Comics, Spallone, knew of the lost documents that I guess Ken Penders' been talking about. Now, it says in another subtitle under that, it says, if you want to see a game changer in the Archie versus Penders case, here it is. And I quote, this is from the report by Tristan Oliver, what little documents that were available from a heavily protected opposition to Archie's motion for summary judgment was obtained by TSSZ through public records as of Friday morning. Multiple affidavits, whatever you want to call that, I can't pronounce it, from past freelancers on the Sonic comic, including Scott Falloop, Mike Kantovich, Justin Garber, Carl Bowles, and others are inaccessible due to a protective order. That means we don't know what any of them said specifically. What we do know from our previous coverage is that in the event of a trial, Ken Penders' defense planned to call all the aforementioned and more to testify. They were not bound to any Archie work for hire contract for some or all of their time with the company. The list of defense affidavits include Fred Mauser, whatever. I can't pronounce his last name. It's M-A-U-S-S-E-R. Fred Mauser, who was once Archie's co-president and director of circulation. While he was with the comic as of late of 2009, it now appears that that is no longer the case. Like many of the others, we have no idea what he submitted in his evidence to the court. So, in other words, there seems to be a lot more that has been discovered over the past week or so. Now, continuing on, and I quote, but there was one notable affidavit, if you will, for review, penned by Ken Penders' attorney, Michael Lovitz, and it may be the most important public document in the case to date. Lovett's affidavit, in part, makes allegations that contrast basically with words of ex-Archie VP of Finance Ed Spallone. That basically consistently contrast with words of ex-VP of Finance Ed Spallone offered in his own affidavit. We told you previously that Spallone, once planned as a defense witness, submitted an affidavit in support of Archie's motion of summary judgment. Instead, he signed Penders' work for hire agreement. Well, Spallone said in his affidavit that and this is Spallone talking, and I quote, Archie Comic Publications, ACP, did in fact send these agreements signed by me out to Ken Penders, and the ACP did receive agreements back from Ken Penders signed by him several weeks later. Lovitz alleges in his affidavit that with one exception, Michael Lovitz, Ken Penders' attorney, alleges in his affidavit that with one exception, Spallone said in conversation he had nothing to do with any of Penders' agreements in question. Mr. Spallone stated that as VP of Finance, he had no involvement with it and was not responsible for editorial agreements such as the, and these are in quotation marks, such as the Revised Newsstand Comic Independent Contractors Agreement, or the, and this is also in quotations, Licensed Comic Books Independent Contractors Agreement, and never signed such agreements on behalf of Archie Comic Publications, with the exception of one event. Now I don't know what this is, so obviously that's sort of like there for, and again I'll provide the link, but this is sort of there to kind of go like, you gotta be kidding me deal. Now continuing on, and I quote with this report, during these interviews, Mr. Spallone specifically told me that he did not recall sending Mr. Penders a contract in 1996 or even receiving one in return from him. And this is basically Michael Lovitz alleging this, I guess. Or it's just what they're reporting. Again, you'll get the link. Continuing on, that one event, it turns out, concerned the budding popularity of the Sabrina the Teenage Witch television series in 1996, which was a co-creation of Archie writer George Gallatin. Lovitz alleges in his affidavit that in order to prove the company's ownership of Sabrina, Archie sought a written agreement from Gallagher that, in a nutshell, intended for Gallagher to sign his rights away. Because the Sabrina television series was quickly proven to be very popular, Mr. Spallone explained that Archie Comic Publications, ACP, was extremely concerned once they discovered they no longer had any of the signed curator contracts. Let me repeat that. Mr. Spallone, let me repeat that. Because the Sabrina television series had quickly proven to be very popular, Mr. Spallone explained that the ACP, Archie Comic Publications, was extremely concerned once they discovered they no longer had any of the signed curator contracts, and therefore no documentation to prove of Archie Comics Publications, ACP's, ownership of the Sabrina character. As a result, Mr. Spallone explained that ACP, Archie Comic Publications, decided they needed to secure a new signed newsstand comic independent contractors agreement for Mr. Gallagher in order to confirm the ownership of the Sabrina character. So it seems that there's been some kind of miscommunication, not just concerning Sonic, but it seems there have been some miscommunications when it came to Sabrina. Go figure. Mr. Spallone stated that although the primary purpose for sending out these contracts was to get George Gallagher to sign away his interest in the Sabrina Teenage Witch character, ACP wanted to hide their true intentions in hopes of avoiding having to pay Mr. Gallagher any comprehension or royalty for the television series based on his character. Any comprehension or royalty for the television series based on his character. In other words, what they're stating here, in other words, what this Michael Lovitz and what's being reported here, and again you'll get the link down below, is that it seems that Ed Spallone basically Ed Spallone wanted to make sure that he and Archie Comics did not have to pay the Sabrina creator any royalties for his character that they feel they own the rights to. So, how does this deal with Sonic? Well, I think you're kind of getting the idea. But I continue on, and I quote, "And no wonder Archie was allegedly so eager for Gallagher to sign another agreement. You may have caught the line in the passage above about how Archie allegedly had no signed creator contracts on file. Before Lovitz explained this particular case, he noted that Spallone allegedly told him Archie lost." And get this, that Spallone allegedly told him, Michael Lovitz, that Archie Comics lost the original creator agreements on file in 1996. We emboldened the most important section. In other words, they've bolded in the most important section. During these interviews, Mr. Spallone explained that there had been a problem discovered in 1996 concerning ACP's contracts with its artists, writers, and other creators. Specifically, Mr. Spallone stated that it was ACP's routine to store contracts in a box in the company's on-site warehouse. Further, during the time he was VP of Finance, he was aware that ACP routinely hired short-term employees to work in the warehouse. However, ACP learned that one or more of those employees had proven to be either untrustworthy or incompetent. In other words, the people that would work in the warehouse short-term, they discovered that one or more of those may have not been the best hiring decision they made. Now continuing on, and I quote, "In the fall of 1996, ACP discovered that all," and this is in a, not quotation, but in apostrophe, "or a majority," let me repeat that, "in the fall of 1996, ACP discovered that all or a majority of the creator agreements housed in the ACP warehouse had been destroyed when the box containing the contracts was discarded by one of the short-term warehouse employees." In other words, their creator, according to what this says, according to what Spallone is saying, a box containing the most important documents you could have when it comes to something like this down the line was discarded and destroyed by one of the short-term employees. Now, continuing on. Michael Lovitz said in his affidavit that the exact time, okay, excuse me, I want to hold on for a second. It says, again, I repeat myself, Michael Lovitz said in his affidavit that the exact time that the box was discarded or destroyed could not be determined. Basically, they can't really figure out exactly, they can't exactly say what time hold on for a second, I'll be right back. I gotta put the bird in the room. But basically what they're saying is that they can't really determine exactly, well, hold on for a second, I'll be right back. Sorry about that, folks. I had to put the bird in. It's like every time someone tries talking or tries saying anything, he wants to make a lot of noise. Okay. Now, as I was saying, where was I? Okay. Michael Lovitz, continuing on, again I apologize for the interruption, but continuing on, Michael Lovitz says in his affidavit that the exact time the box was discarded or destroyed, and they put discarded, destroyed in quotations, could not be determined. The most anyone knew about this incident is that it occurred in 1996. So in other words, according to Michael Lovitz, the exact time, even though they know the year it happened, which was 96, they can't really determine what month, what time frame. Like, was it the winter? Was it the new year of 96? Was it the spring of 96? Summer, fall, winter? No one really knows. Was it January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December? Nobody really knows. But all I know is in 96. Now, continuing on. Why might this be important, they ask. This is a question that's asked. And I quote, they're asking a question right off the top of the new paragraph here. They ask, why might this be important? Continue on. The work for hire agreement entered into this case that Archie says Penders signed is dated December 12, 1996 by Ken Penders and November 25, 1996 by Spallone. But according to Lovitz, in the interviews he allegedly conducted, Spallone has no recollection of any Penders work for hire agreements crossing his desk. What's more, Michael Lovitz noted in his affidavit that when he served Archie with a demand of inspection regarding Penders' contract in effort asking Archie to show the original signed agreement on file, Archie objected, called his request irrelevant, and in Lovitz's words, stated that the originals had been lost or destroyed. That ACP had located copies of the originals and that the copies of these copies had previously been produced to defendants' console. The bottom line is that someone at Archie may have made a crucial error in 1996 with many or all freelancers' contracts, and for that reason the original contract Penders allegedly signed may not exist. The fact that it may open up a Pandora's box for Archie contributors of past and present aside, that's enough of a reason for Penders and his defense to question the authenticity of the copied agreement supplied to them, and it may be enough for a judge or jury to take those doubts seriously. The question will then become whether a copy in this instance will be considered a valid, enforceable contract. What's more, with the level of contraction, I guess that's what it's called, Spallone, well, what's more, with the level of contraction Spallone appears to make between his affidavit and his alleged conversation he had with Michael Lovitz, someone may be perjuring himself. That could open up a world of trouble for whichever side is determined to be culpable of it. Evidence from Scott Shaw and Elliot S. Magan will publicly available, and we'll peek into those early next week. So basically what it sounds like, basically from this report, and you can read it down below, in my opinion it sounds like Archie Comics, according to Ken Penders' attorney, has really fucked themselves in the ass, if you know what I mean. Now, a lot of people who've already read this at various Sonic sites, as well as at TSSZ, are questioning what does this mean for the future of the Sonic comic, if not for the company in general. Well, the Sonic comic, I don't think is going to go anywhere. I don't think Sega is going to end their partnership with Archie Comics this soon. I don't think that I don't think they're going to look at this and say, you know what, it's not our fault, it's Archie's, but you know what, it's not really Archie's fault, it's just somebody on the inside. Now, I don't think they're going to look at them. I mean, they may look at that as saying, you know what, maybe we can't really trust them, but I don't think they will. Because here's the thing. It's not the right, basically from what this sounds like, it's not the people that wrote the story's fault. It's some people on the inside. Now, that may cause a rift, it may cause some trouble, but if it hasn't really caused that much of a drift and much trouble, Sega would have canceled it right then and there. And it's like I've said, if Sega does this, how do you think some of the current people working on the comics are going to feel? How do you think Ian Flynn's going to feel? How do you think Tracy Yardlin's going to feel? They're not going to like it. I mean, think about it. Here you are, you're Ian Flynn, working on what you feel is going to be one of the best story arcs you've ever done for the Sonic comic, or has ever been done for the Sonic comic. And all of a sudden you get a call saying, guess what, the comic's canceled, you're going to have to stop. Or, guess what, the comics are being canceled, the partnership's being ended, you're going to have to wrap things up sooner than you want. Do you think he and anybody else are going to want to hear that? Of course not. Now, a lot of people have stated that Ian Flynn has no power over Archie, and that's true. But being a writer, that's put so much effort into this story arc, went as far as to roboticize one of the, if not the most popular female character in the comic and in the franchise, aside from Rouge and Amy, and that being Sally. Do you think, knowing that fans are going to want to see her restored, or want to see him make sure she gets restored, do you think he's going to want to do that sooner than he's planning on? Heck no. But the way things are going according to this, that may happen, from what many people have looked at. But you know what? If that would have happened, it would have happened already. But we don't know if it will or not. And I don't think it will. I don't think it will. I mean, it's too much of a moneymaker for Archie, and even though Sega gets a bit of it, it also is a moneymaker for them. So that's just my thoughts on it. So what are your thoughts on this? Again, I'll provide the link down below, and video response if you want, and I'll talk to you all later.